So I was born in El Salvador back in 19. I can't tell you. Can't. Yeah. Yeah. I was born in El Salvador and I came to the United States in 1982. My mom lived and worked at a house taking care of an older couple. I remember seeing her at night at times just crying, trying to figure out how she was going to feed us. When I was 9 years old, I remember, and it was one of one of the biggest memories of my life because it was when my life changed completely. It was Christmas Day. Instead of being home celebrating, um, around the table, eating lots of food and celebrating with lots of family members, we were actually at a party and we were catering to a family. We were starving, we had nothing again, and we were wondering when we would get home what if there was anything to eat, if we had anything available in the fridge, and was if my mom had any money available to buy, something for us to grab. As we were going home that day, I know my mom was having a hard time, and we went. It was right. It was like the most amazing thing that my sister and I, my mom, would have ever experienced in our life. And that day, someone blessed us. To this day, I don't know who it was, who did that, but they changed my life forever. Because of that one person, I knew there was a God. Because of that one person, I knew that God was real. This person blessed us with presents. This person left 2 big bags. One was filled with lots of food, and the other big bag was filled with lots of presents. I remember looking at the sky that night, and I asked God, I know you're real. I know you're up there. And I told him, one day when I grow up, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to be able to bless people. So in 2004, I remember I was already an adult and I already was married and I had 2 little children of my own. I was at a Joyce Myers conference. I was trying to find what was the meaning of my life. Like, what did God want from me? I knew He wanted something from me, but I just didn't know what. And that was the topic of her conference. And it was finding yourself in God. Like, what does God want from you? And I remember just sitting there, and she said, there's someone in the crowd this evening. This person, she promised something to God long time ago. And tonight, I want to tell you that promise you made to God long time ago, today, you need to release it. You need to make it happen.
It was Thanksgiving season, and so we had very little in the bank. We had no money in the bank, $17, I believe. And so we were worried about Thanksgiving, and typically we always did it at our home because our home was a little spacious, so we were going to have the whole family over. By the time it was all said and done, there was a whole lot of dinner and a whole lot of food that we consumed, but also there was a lot of food that we didn't. So on the next day, there was a large amount of leftovers, and Rosie gets up real early and she says, we're going to go out to the streets and give out this food. And I thought, this is a day of rest. This is not what we're supposed to be doing. So she said, okay, just go to Smart & Final and buy some food trays. So I went to Smart & Final and I bought some food trays, and we started packaging up all the food. And so after we were kind of wrapped up, we had a box of about 20 or 30 food packages of rice and salad and some turkey and some ham. So we then hit the streets. We got our food, we got some water, and so we went to San Francisco under the overpasses over by Army and Bayshore. And we all just, Rosie, Georgie, Josie, and myself, we all just kind of parked there in front of La Raza Park. And there was a lot of homeless people there. And then we just popped our trunk open and they started just swarming and coming towards the car. And so we started handing out food and we started talking to them and praying with them. And on that day was our first Spreading the Love of Jesus ministry outing. And on that day, there was a few people that gave their life to the Lord, and that was our first ministry outing in 2004. And from that point on, from about 2004 to about 2012, we were basically a seasonal ministry that would go out during major holidays and kind of bless the public or the homeless community. In 2012, unfortunately, sickness struck our family. My wife was diagnosed with a rare nerve disease. And so she had to be home.
I was alone and I started thinking, again, I'm not worth it. How can I serve you, God? How can I do this? How can all this stuff that you have planned for me, how can I help others if I can't even help myself? And God just came and I felt him just speak into my life and say, you're going to help others, and through helping others, is going to be your healing grace. Helping others, it started getting my mind off of people. And the Lord just placed in my heart, now you have to do ministry all year round. And that's when Spreading the Love of Jesus began. Not just during the holidays, but it started, from January until December.
It was an awesome time for me because I knew that she was struggling with her illness, but also I would come home and she would have pretty much daily testimonies about these people came over and those people came over, and we all sat around and we spoke about the Lord and all his goodness, and we got a chance to talk about their life, and I shared my life, and our life impacted them, and now they're heading a different direction. And it was just this beautiful time of testimonies in a time where it should have been a gloom and doom and depression and sadness. God was using all that to actually minister to a bunch of women who were in a lot of pain and going through hardships. And so this all encouraged Rosie and kind of led her into taking this ministry to the next level. At that point, Rosie just felt like she needed to talk to me about stepping it up and doing more often, as opposed to a seasonal ministry. At that point, Rosie just felt clearly of the Lord that it was time to do it every other week, twice a month, and run with it. And so we were getting food 2 or 3 times a week, and we would just package it all up and take them to various families. So then we just started to kind of fall in love with just showing up into people's lives with food just by knocking at their door. We built all these super strong relationships on Tuesday nights and Thursday nights, just arriving at their house and bringing them food over and over, but not just bringing them food, bringing them, hope and friendship and the gospel.
I remember asking God, like, okay, so you want us to expand this. So what do we do? How do we get other people to help us? Because we want to bring you glory, but we don't want to tell people who we are, because then people are going to know that we're giving out food, and then it takes away from people seeing God's miracle. But the Lord just placed in my heart, you need to make it bigger and think bigger. So this is the time when I couldn't really think or write or do things on my own, and I started looking into making Spreading the Love of Jesus into a nonprofit. And in 2013, Spreading the Love of Jesus became a nonprofit organization. So that was in itself a huge miracle.